So I'm with Steve Linde from the Jerusalem Post. Now, Steve, what is the Jerusalem Post?
The Jerusalem Post is Israel's most popular and I think most important English language newspaper. We've just celebrated our 80th anniversary. We were started in 1932 by a man named Gershon Agron, who later became mayor of Jerusalem. And we're doing very well. Unlike other newspapers in the world, we're expanding into other products and we're doing quite well financially.
But of course, before 1948, it was the Palestine Post, wasn't it?
That's right. We changed the name after the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. It was changed from the Palestine Post to the Jerusalem Post. And we had buildings in downtown Jerusalem that were actually bombed in 1948. But the paper still came out the next day, miraculously, and has come out every day since, except, of course, on Saturdays, which is the Jewish Sabbath. So we don't have a paper on Saturdays, but otherwise we have a paper every other day, and it's come out every day since then. And we decided to change the name, I think, in 1950. So I think that's when it was actually changed.
But it was still a Jewish paper, wasn't it?
Yes, even in the days of the Palestine Post, it was obviously a Jewish paper in the sense that it represented Jewish interests. But we try to be as balanced as possible, and many of our readers are Christian, and especially around the world, and on our website. And we even have a Christian edition that comes out once a month.
And how many readers do you actually have?
Well, our website is the most popular place for readers, and we have grown to about 1 million hits a day, a few 100,000 unique visitors, which makes us a really important newspaper. And a lot of our advertising comes on the website, which we've just launched a Hebrew website as well, actually. But our daily is fairly small, 15 to 20,000 and 50,000 on a Friday. But then we have all these other products that I mentioned, including an international edition, the Christian edition, a French edition. We have a new ultra-Orthodox edition called Kosher English for the Haredi public, and various other things. The Jerusalem Report is owned by us, which is a magazine that comes out every 2 weeks. We have an easy Hebrew edition, an easy English edition for people learning one of the two languages, and various youth newspapers as well.
Now, with the age of the internet, do the print editions, are they losing readers now because people are more turning to the internet, or are they still gaining, holding up their position?
I wouldn't say we're gaining, although tourism to Israel is on the rise, and then the 3.5 million tourists coming last year. So although our readership isn't dropping, it's not gaining substantially. But as I say, the future is the internet, and we're doing very well on the internet.
And how is the media in Israel? Is it good media?
I think Israel has always been known for its very vibrant media, and it's a very vibrant democracy. So the media world is struggling a little bit. We have some freebies that have made it more difficult for the other papers. But I think you'll find that you can get the whole gamut of newspapers in Israel, from left to right, and from those who ostensibly support the government to those who don't, and really there's a wide range, even in English, of things to read on the internet and in print. So I think the media are in a very healthy situation, and it's reflective of a very healthy democracy.
And how do you see the media towards Israel from around the world?
I think the international media are generally anti-Israel. And I know that's generalizing, but it seems to me that the media almost naturally take what they see as the side of the underdog, in this case the Palestinians. And I think that's unfortunate, because it ultimately paints a very distorted picture of Israel and the region. I know that we have our fans and supporters all over the world, especially in the Christian community. But I think a lot of people judge Israel by what they see in the media, on television, and in their own local newspapers, and that often gives you the bad news from Israel and not all the good news, and there's lots of it. Israel is a very successful country, and economically, and from a high-tech point of view, from medicine, water irrigation, all kinds of things that Israel has helped the world with are not reported on constantly. And every time there's a stone-throwing incident or unfortunately a war, then the whole world is fixated on it. I think with the upcoming Obama visit, hopefully there'll be some kind of resumption of peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians, and then again maybe we'll get more of a sympathetic coverage in the international media. But I'd say for the most part, the international media are, and maybe through no fault of their own, always looking for the bad news rather than the good news.
Yeah. And you said before you have a Christian edition of Jerusalem Post. What is that, and what sort of stories do you print?
Well, we've always had an international edition which comes out once a week, which is basically all our best stories put into one. And then it struck us, together with the International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem, that we could do a special issue that's just targeting Christian readers. And it's proved to be a huge success. It's our biggest growing product, especially churches in North America, but also in Europe. Subscribe to it. It comes out once a month. And we have original content as well that's provided to us through reporters and the International Christian Embassy. That is obviously of interest to Christian readers, whether it be, archaeological finds from the time of Jesus, or particular disputes going on in Israel, interfaith dialogue. It's a lot of good news as well, which counters what you get in the international media about really good things that Christians and Jews are doing in Israel. And it's not propaganda, but it does show the country from a positive light, and we hope to promote interfaith dialogue and understanding through it, rather than create dissension.
Now, you're the editor-in-chief, so is it difficult running a newspaper?
Yes, I think it's a very challenging job. Again, I try to use a more positive word than difficult. I enjoy it. One thing about living in Israel is it's always intense and interesting, and sometimes it seems to be too much, but I kind of like the challenge of having to cover big stories every day and make sure we do it as well as we can. And it's a thrill to be the editor of an iconic newspaper like the Jerusalem Post. And I think that people take us seriously. We are a serious player, and I hope that people around the world read us on the website or in one of our editions, and respect what we're saying as a newspaper of record and integrity, and that you can trust what you read in the Jerusalem Post. And we try to give a very balanced picture of what's going on. So if you're not here, the Jerusalem Post is a good window to the world of Israel, and if you are here, hopefully it gives you a perspective on what's going on.
And how big is your workforce here?
We have a few hundred people working in the Jerusalem Post. I can't give you the exact figure, but we have a very small reporting staff, about 15 permanent reporters in Israel itself, and then freelancers all over the world, from England to the United States and various other places. We rely on freelance reporters to provide us with material. We have different editors for different sections, from sports to culture and various other things. And the team works very well together. We're based here in Jerusalem, but we also have an office in Tel Aviv, where management sits. And also our printing press is in Rishon LeZion, which is, as you know, a town, city today, near Tel Aviv.
Now, you're originally from Zimbabwe. Why did you come to Israel?
I was born in Zimbabwe, although my parents moved to South Africa when I was 6. So I grew up in Durban in South Africa, and my family was very Zionistically oriented, and I went to Jewish day school. And so when I finished my studies in journalism, I decided to make Aliyah, as we say, to come to Israel. My sister and my parents also did the same, and so I have a big family here in Israel. And I came about 25 years ago, went to the army, and then started working at Israel Radio as a reporter and editor, and then started working at the Jerusalem Post about 16 years ago, and was appointed editor almost 2 years ago.
Oh.
So yeah, it's been a thrill, and I've lucked out, as they say in America, and I've landed up in this plum job, and I can't complain.
That's good. And what's your prayer finally for the paper?
Well, my prayer for the paper and for all of Israel is that we will. The Chinese curse goes, live in interesting times, continue to live in interesting times. There's never a dull moment in Israel, so I mean, it's not really a prayer. Hopefully the news will be more good news than bad, especially in the year to come. I hope the paper continues in its print editions as long as possibly can, and that our children and grandchildren and the next generations appreciate, the printed word, because you can always read things on iPad or on your cell phone, your mobile, but it's not the same as reading it like a book, in your hands. And hopefully the next generations won't lose that feeling. And I think there'll always be room for a newspaper in some form or another, even if it does, morph into another form. I think to stay abreast with what's going on in the world today, our world, you can't just rely on headlines from television or the internet. I mean, I think you need to read things in depth, and whether that's in actually on in a newspaper or on some kind of application and on the latest device that human beings invent. I think there'll always be a need to know what's going on, and the newspaper is one of the best media to do that.
And what's your website address for people who'd like to know more about the stories of Israel?
So our website is jpost.com, C-O-M, and I urge everyone to read it as much as they can. It's at first glance looks like there's full of ads and pop-ups, but it's worth overcoming that. And we only have a very small section under premium, which means you have to pay for it. And those are usually very high quality stories that I highly recommend. But for those who can't afford it or don't want to subscribe, most of our website, unlike some of our competitions such as Haaretz, is not under a paywall, which means that you can read it for free anytime. And we have a team in Tel Aviv updating constantly 24 hours a day, so you'll always find the latest news on our website.
Okay, Steve, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you.